The following program is made possible in part by Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory, now providing live streaming capabilities for your loved one's funeral or memorial service at their chapel in Rock Island.
At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial and physical health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
Seeking justice in society and all of our lives, opening doors to get out of poverty and better understand those suffering from it, and one of the best deals you'll see in real estate in the cities. It has been a year of social change across the country and across the country's campuses of higher learning. It's no different at Western Illinois University, and WIU's Grad Center, along with the College of Education and Human Services, is hosting its third annual Social Justice in Higher Education Summit. The one-day online event is set for June 16th, and we talked with one of the organizers, Kelly Larrabee, graduate admissions counselor at the Quad Cities campus. Well, Kelly, there really seems to be a heightened awareness of inclusivity and diversity in the workplace and in society right now. I mean, it's the hot button issue.
That is correct. We're at a watershed moment, I believe, and we're trying to talk about this and have conversations because that's really what this is all about.
Why do you think it's so important now? Not that it wasn't important before, but why it's so much in the forefront now than even pre-pandemic?
I just think we've all had time to recognize what's going on. I think sometimes we move at such a fast pace and we're into our own situations that we just don't pay attention to what's going on around us and even what we do ourselves. So I think it's forced us all to think about why we think about the things that we do, and that brings awareness and causes a lot of conversation, the need for a lot of conversations.
Well, this is Western Illinois University's third summit. This isn't the first time you guys have done this. This isn't a new issue for Western. What makes this third summit different than the other two?
We started 3 years ago. You're correct. This is our third summit. The first time we did it in a regular in-person summit and had people come to our campus here in the Quad Cities, and we had people able to break into sessions and talk and converse. Now, last year and this year with the pandemic, the exciting part about the summit is that we have access to more people, we have access to speakers, and we have access to participants. So we have speakers joining us from San Antonio, we have people joining us from Kansas City, and we have participants from all over the United States joining us to really explore and have a dialogue and conversation.
In particular, in the classroom? No, it's a wide-ranging discussion.
No. It is a wide-ranging discussion, and our format this year is going to be, it's almost like a workshop, but a virtual workshop. So we will have 3 keynote speakers, and then we have breakout sessions, 10 breakout sessions where participants can determine what particular topic they might be most interested in. So we have topics ranging from skills that would help young students in elementary school. And we have a conversation about historic monuments, which is exciting, and how that impacts. And we have other topics in just trying to help with student success and preparing students all across the board in being able to learn the terminology, how the feelings, and again, a conversation. That's really what this is about, is having a conversation.
Is it also important, perhaps, during this summit, is to get people out of their comfort zone to discuss topics that may not be discussed, or to look at things in ways you may not otherwise look at them?
I think so. I think the most important thing, though, that I need to stress is that this is a safe space. That's the important thing. Some of these topics can be difficult, and they do take people out of their comfort zones, but we are setting this up in a way that I feel like what we're trying to do is have a conversation without judgment, without bias. I mean, understanding we all have bias, understanding that we all are learning. And again, it's really not about coming away from this with an answer on these are the things I have to say, but it's really coming away from this with an awareness and an understanding that this is a process for all of us. Not a specific answer, but a process.
Because I was going to underline the fact that you just brought up is that we all have biases. They're all different degrees of biases, and some may be more detrimental than others.
Correct. I think the key is to, again, that we understanding that we all have biases and how those unconscious thoughts that we have impact things like who we hire, how we interact with other people, how we lead, whose opinion we listen to more. So the bias piece is essential in understanding that, again, we all have them. It's just a matter of how we take those biases and let it impact our daily life and conversations and decisions.
Because I think that's something that we're seeing more and more in the workplace, and we've always somewhat seen it in the classroom, is that the loudest voice is sometimes the one that so dominates the discussion and steers a project in one direction or another. And that's really something that teachers, administrators, people who lead meetings, people who are in any kind of a leadership position really have to be sensitive to.
They do, and I think that old phrase, I think you're referring to, the squeaky wheel kind of concept. It's making sure that, again, that probably the phrase that you're hearing, that everyone deserves a seat at the table. Everyone needs to see and everyone needs to recognize that even though the voices, you might not hear the voices, there are more voices out there. If that again, I'm trying to make sure I'm not talking in riddles, but it is so important to recognize that everybody does need a seat at the table.
You also know that in so many different times when there are periods of social change, you see almost a pendulum. You see a progression in one area and then a pushback to the other. If you understand what I'm saying, and you may not even agree with that hypothesis from me, and I perfectly would understand that, but is that something that you might fear?
Yeah, but again, I think the key to this is just to be having the conversations. I think, again, the awareness will help to make the change. I'm a recent master's graduate at Western, and I remember taking a course talking about how many prejudices I had and how many biases I had, and I thought, oh, that's not me. But again, when you actually look at it and have the conversations and listen to what the people around the table are saying, I don't think that's something that swings back. I think once you learn it and think about it, it impacts how you live daily. If that, again.
Do you really think so?
Sense.
I mean, do you think that some people will go to a conference like this and hear that and go, yeah, okay, and like you said, it's not me, and then maybe, yeah, okay, I'm going to change, and then a month later, that change isn't there?
It could be. I can't answer that question on behalf of other people, but I do know, I don't think that this conversation is going away. I do not believe that this conversation is going away. I really believe that this is going to be something that it's just, the awareness is just something that can't be ignored.
One session that you have, and I loved what it's called, and I had never heard of this particular phrase. It's courageous followership. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I don't have all of the details on that one, and I apologize, but I can tell you that what we're seeing is that there are situations where someone presents an idea and then people follow that, and then we lose track of other folks. So again, it is making sure that we are inclusive of everyone and being aware that every voice matters.
How can somebody take part in the summit? Because it is just one day, and I don't want people to miss it.
Yeah, and it's a free registration. If you just if you just check out our site, wiu.edu, you'll be able to find registration for the social justice seminar. And it is a free opportunity. Starts at 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the 16th. And you are allowed to stay, even if you have an hour. We have more time and more sessions scheduled, but if you can only join us for an hour, join for whatever you can.
And as you said, it's amazing how many different sessions and topics are being covered. There is something that's going to interest you or affect you.
That is correct. And I don't want people to think they have to participate the whole time. We would like for them to stay on. But again, even if they can only get a snippet, it again is really just here having the conversations. That's what our goal is to have the conversation.
Kelly Larrabee, graduate admissions counselor at the Quad Cities campus of Western Illinois University. Find out more about the 3rd annual Social Justice and Higher Education Summit by going to the Western website, wiu.edu, and click on the social justice link. In a moment, a great deal on a great house, plus an open door out of poverty. But first, here's Laura Adams with plenty of great ideas if you want to go out and about.
This is Out and About through June 15th. Enjoy Quad Cities Museum Week the 6th through the 13th. Upcoming festivals include Alito's Rhubarb Fest June 4th and 5th, Andover's 185th Anniversary Festival the 5th and 6th, Shoots and Parts Sesquicentennial Celebration the 12th, Long Grove's Strawberry Festival the 13th, Pride Fest at Bass Street Landing June 4th and 5th, and Mercado on 5th each Friday night in downtown Moline. At the Adler, the Nielsen Trust, and Nick Perry and the Underground Thieves the 3rd, and the Magic of Bill Blagg on the 4th. RME's Live at 5 Courtyard series returns each Friday starting at 5, while David Allen Coe performs at the Rust Belt on the 4th. There's Friday Night Live in LeClaire the 4th from 5 to 11, and Babaloo, a one-man musical comedy act for kids at the LeClaire Library the 9th. Tomfoolery on Tremont presents the comedy of John McComb the 4th, and Circa 21 Beehive, the 60s musical, continues featuring the fun, frothy pop music of the 60s. For kids, Elephant and Piggies We Are in a Play opens June 11th. Playcrafters Barn Theater opens an original play, Princeton's Rage, rated R, while the comedy Hate Mail opens at the Black Box Theater the 3rd. Plus, the Clinton Symphony Orchestra performs the 6th at the Riverview Park Bandshell in Clinton at 6:30. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. It can be a vicious cycle between racism and poverty, but one initiative has a mission to make the cities a more equitable and inclusive place to live. We talked with Loredia Nunn Dixon about the Open Door Crisis Assistance Program and its efforts to create a better understanding of poverty and racism. The Open Door Crisis Assistance Program is really a major initiative. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Well, the initiative that we're doing is we're trying to navigate services for individuals that may be in crisis or that may be in need. And so this new initiative that we took on is with our Opportunity Quad Cities group, where we are doing a Healing Illinois podcast and some training for our navigators and neighbors who participate in this Opportunity Quad Cities.
Well, and what you're really dealing with is two incredibly important issues, racism as well as poverty. And these two things do go hand in hand in so many ways.
Absolutely, Jim. We have found out in our recent studies, and we've been around for several years now, that those that are in poverty have experienced some type of racism. And so we have adopted this model, this poverty model, for quite a while now. And so listening to our neighbors, that's what we call individuals that are in poverty, listening to our neighbors, we find out that they also have indeed experienced racism.
And a lot of times the people that are trying to help others don't necessarily have that shared experience.
Yes, and maybe they're, like you say, they're just not aware. They have a helping hand, they want to be a part to help, but don't have that experience or don't have that awareness of what that individual has experienced during their poverty experiences or their poverty life. They are not aware of some of the things that they have experienced. And just so we're bringing awareness along with also trying to get the message out that, hey, this does exist in our community as well.
So tell me a little bit about the people who are giving this information. I mean, these are people who, how do I say this? They walk the walk, you know? I mean, it's not just words to them, it's day-to-day living.
Yes, it is. It's day-to-day living. And again, we call them neighbors through our Open Door Crisis Assistance Program. We see those individuals on a daily basis. In my Rock Island program, right now we're working with immigrants and refugees. And in my Iowa program, we're working with individuals that are witnesses or victims of crime. So we see the crisis, you know, as we do that intake, it leads to some experiences that they have. They're in poverty, trying to move out or trying to not get a hand out, but I call it, where we can help them move forward. So absolutely, Jim, they're walking the walk. They're just not talking it.
Yeah,
and they have walked the walk.
And let's talk about you in particular, because I always want to call it Skip Along. I know it's called SAL, Family and Community Services. I will get it right someday. Tell me your story, because you've been with the association for 3 decades. You have seen hundreds, maybe even thousands of people walk through the doors seeking help of some sort.
Absolutely. I kind of cringe a little bit when they say, you've been there 3 decades, make me seem old.
Yeah, but when you start when you're just 5, that's okay.
I just started at 9 years old. But yes, I've seen experiences of individuals, from those that are needing childcare, but needing more than the childcare. Okay, they have other situations that are going on in their life. So I've experienced that as a family service provider, and now as a director of these programs. They do need more than childcare. There are things that are happening in the home. There's things that's keeping them from moving forward. So believe me, Jim, I've seen a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've helped a lot. I mean, I think that's important to underline as well. Let's talk about the podcasts that are being produced. It starts June 7th. So they have started, and so the Racial Healing Podcast and Training Project is actually being an ongoing effort over 4 weeks.
Yes, and so what we're doing each Monday night, we're going to do a podcast. We're going to have our neighbor and our navigator, and the neighbor's just going to share their story, share their life story with their navigator. And that's going to bring awareness for that navigator to be able to help that neighbor and maybe understand some of the situations that that neighbor has been. So that's going to be every Monday night. We're going to follow up the podcast with some training, some biases trainings. We have professionals that are coming in to also do a Zoom training with our navigators. We're inviting anyone that wants to attend this great training. This is due to the grant that we received from Hill & Illinois, who their initiative is to bring about some healing with the racism. And so as we are aware that poverty does exist, and that poverty, racism, those individuals in poverty has experienced, I thought, what a great connection we could bring all this together.
Because we've been talking now for the last, particularly the last few months, about inclusivity and diversity. And you throw the issue of racism and poverty in as well. And trying to tie that all together. Now, the people that you have that help clients, the navigators, as you pointed out, they already have kind of a sensitivity to this already. You're not saying that they don't. You're basically just saying it's good still to hear these other voices, because you got to hear what they're saying.
Absolutely. And absolutely, the navigators are aware. We do some training with them, so they're aware, and they have a heart to help. They want to help, and so they're aware of some of the situations. But we take an instance on why that individual is maybe acting or coming off the way they are, trying to give them some insight that individuals may be offensive for things. I think of a lovely individual that wanted to find some housing for an individual, and the navigator had every good intentions, but that housing that the navigator pointed out was something that triggered an individual that had been in these apartment complexes before. And so right away, of course, the navigator didn't know that. If the neighbor had maybe explained to that and said, some of my experiences I've had in this complex, I definitely don't want to go back there. So they have some awareness. They are aware, like I say, they have that helping heart. And so being aware of some of the situations they've they've encountered, so they don't go back to them, or that we don't trigger any of those situations again.
We've been talking about race, of course, but it's more than that. I'm
Yes.
looking at your list of podcasts: bias in the workplace, bias in
Yes.
education, but also bias in disabilities. That's
Yes.
really an important area to be more sensitive of as well.
That's right. And it's coming out. I'm looking forward to that training myself by Ryan Sattler. I'm looking forward to the disability, because we have disabilities in some of our neighbors that we need to address as well. So I'm really looking forward to that particularly training myself.
Well, and also implicit bias, the belief that we all have a certain level of biasness. You know, you're never going to get rid of that. You just want to minimize it, or even actually make it work for you.
That's right. Make it work for you. That's what I would say, that we need to try to make it work for us, because we all do, Jim. We all have some type of biases, but how does that work for me, and how can I help someone else with their biases that they may have, or maybe see some things in a different way.
The Open Door Crisis Assistance Program is so important. It is so important to you, and you're passionate about it. How is it
Yes,
making
I
a
am.
difference in the community?
Pardon me?
How is it making a difference in the community?
Well, we're given hope. We're given hope. I can't tell you, like you say, the years here that I've seen someone come in hopeless. And so we're giving them hope that there is some hope out there. There is someone that cares out there. So that's what I feel we make a difference, is that we're giving someone that's, maybe downtrodden, we're giving them some hope. So, and we're open the door. That's why it's open door. We're open the door for them to receive that hope.
Loredia Nunn Dixon with SAL Family and Community Services Open Door Crisis Assistance Program. Well, we love the chance to introduce to you all types of music created by local artists around the cities. The drummer, who goes by the name Dead Ginger, has been creating music he says identifies with his inner soul. He joined us at the stage of the Black Box Theater in Moline. Here's Dead Ginger with the song Worms. That's Dead Ginger with Worms, performed at the Black Box Theater in Moline. Boy, do I have a deal for you. Davenport's Urban Homestead program is offering a house for an incredible price. About half of the some $200,000 in renovations that were actually sunk into it. So how is that possible? We talked with Davenport Community and Economic Development Director Bruce Berger about the house on West 15th Street. This is a deal that sounds like it's too good to be true, so explain to me the Urban Homestead Program.
Well, it's here. It's real. I mean, we're very excited. It's not a dream, although that's a great program too. The Urban Homestead Program is really a chance for abandoned houses and houses that may be kind of the blighted house on the block to be rehabilitated, and then they're made available for sale to low to moderate income home buyers. So it's really both home buyer assistance and neighborhood revitalization in one.
How do you know if you qualify?
Well, there are income limits, and you do need to qualify either by bringing your own financing in, or we can finance you if you qualify. So there's a lot of federal application steps. The first phase is right now for the month of June, getting your app in the door, and we'll take it from there. Yeah,
and you can contact the city's Community and Economic Development Department to do that. But what's preventing, like, me from buying it and then just 2 months later reselling it for a profit? I mean, you're talking about a house that you're selling for almost half price.
Well, true. I mean, it actually appraises at the amount that we sell for. What we have found over the years is, and it's probably not a secret, those abandoned houses need a lot of work. And so part of the reason that they tend to sit there is that you might need to invest so much in the property that, you know, you're not able to recoup your money when you sell it. But because we use federal funding for this, it's perfect for it. It's set aside for low to moderate income, affordable home ownership, and allows us to be able to do the grant so that we can sell the home for what it's actually worth at the end. For you, Jim, I don't want to, hazard a guess as to, whether you might or might not qualify. But for us, generally, there's a cap. I think it's around 60,000 plus or minus for a household of 4. And so your application, like if you were applying to a lender, will look at a lot of your financial information, and we'll be able to tell you fairly quickly whether you're eligible or not.
Boy, and you really see this as kind of a seed program, because if you can improve one house in a neighborhood, you hope there's a bit of that domino factor.
Oh, exactly. And that's what we've seen over the years. It sort of brings people out to see, one, what's going on. Often fixing up that perhaps blighted house on the block, it gets everybody else in the mood. Sometimes doing that one positive begets a lot of other positives. So, and then neighbors just get talking to each other. Sometimes these houses were rental before, and so it's nice to have maybe a home ownership brought back to that particular portion of the block. So yeah, we found it's positive on a lot of fronts. You
look at other programs. I mean, you think of Habitat for Humanity as one, and they kind of train the homeowner to be a good homeowner. You know what I mean by that is that you don't just buy a house and then, oh, what do I do? Does this program have that type of an element to it?
We do train, and so I mean, to a certain extent, what we do is we'll go through the house with the new buyers, so that if they are a new home buyer, which oftentimes they are, we're able to indicate, here's how you're changing a filter and some of those sorts of things. The beauty of, and I think this is the case with Habitat as well, the beauty of these assistance programs is that by really rehabbing the property well, and the federal rules require that of us. That's part of the reason why it's so costly to rehab. But the benefit is it leaves that new homeowner, that lower income homeowner, with not having to make any major repairs, knock on wood, for the first 5 or 10 years or so. So they really are able to kind of ease into that home ownership, better than they might in some other circumstances.
That's Davenport's Director of Community and Economic Development, Bruce Berger. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
The following program is made possible in part by Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory, now providing live streaming capabilities for your loved one's funeral or memorial service at their chapel in Rock Island.
At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial and physical health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.